Philip Hoare, Atkins, thanks for joining us here at the CIHT annual conference. Now, you spoke earlier on, you mentioned collaboration, technology, skills, but also leadership as being key to really, I suppose, meeting the challenges of the future. But do you think the sector's really got sufficient leadership or leadership with sufficient vision to take on the challenges?
Well, I think that is a real challenge for us, actually. And one of the things that makes that more complicated is the fact that we're such a disparate industry. There are lots of different bodies, lots of different funding mechanisms, lots of different governance and control. And actually, I talked earlier about a golden thread. So how do you create a single strategy that everyone can buy into, and then how do you create a real golden thread that drives that through the organisations? And that will take real leadership. And I guess I would challenge whether we've got that at the moment. It's something we need to think about.
Well, we've been talking about obviously the need to boost skills, but we're also talking about the huge transformation that's likely to happen as we really embrace digital technologies, move away from traditional skills. I mean, how do businesses like Atkins, for instance, reshape themselves to meet that need?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's been something that's been pretty fascinating. We've been focused on quite heavily over the last few months, and so building a new skill set around intelligent mobility, for example, means you cannot recruit in your own likeness. Now, I'm a highways engineer, chartered civil engineer by background, but I recognise that recruiting in my own likeness is not going to get us where we need to be. So we're thinking very much about software engineering, about people from the automotive industry, and actually saying, here's our view of what the future skill set need is, and actually where do we best obtain that, and not being stuck in the old routine of I'll bring in this guy and this guy.
That's a big challenge, for a big vision. And I suppose one of the other things we've heard a lot about today is really tapping into customer need, but also tapping into what customers want, or perhaps don't know they want yet. Again, do you think that's something which the industry it needs to focus more heavily on?
Well, I think the sad thing is that our customers are changing faster than we are. So if you look at certain things, you look at driving licenses, for example. So since the 90s, the number of people under 30 holding a driving license has dropped from 75% to 63%, and because actually they just don't want to buy a car or travel in the same way that perhaps us of the older generation are used to, So actually our customers will be driving what we do. And I guess what I would say to that is that really the right way around, And should we be focusing more on understanding customers' needs now so that we change our services now?
Because we do also hear a lot about, the future of autonomous vehicles, but are we thinking in the wrong way? I mean, we've heard today, but an autonomous vehicle exists, it's called a taxi. Are we thinking down the wrong paths because, because we are rooted in these old-fashioned solutions to problems?
Yeah, I think so. I think we are probably rooted in the old world, and whilst most of us can talk a little bit about connected autonomous vehicles or intelligent mobility, none of us really knows how that's going to manifest itself and how it's going to drive change. But we really ought to get on the front foot and start thinking about how it is. Just on the point of connected autonomous vehicles, that could potentially, it might be like a taxi, but actually, if you can get to a point where you can work and do different things as you're travelling, in a cheap and cost-effective way, a taxi from Bristol to London, I can tell you, is quite expensive. And but actually, if you can build something that's a completely different and cheaper, more efficient solution to that, you can transform the way that it works. And it's not a train, by the way.
There is the other one, a train. But I mean, one of the other things, I suppose, looking at wider, of course, you also mentioned is the opportunity of projects such as the Northern Powerhouse, opportunities such as bringing together large regional areas to actually try to join things up. I mean, can you explain a bit more about how you see those opportunities really manifest themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is, and I think someone's mentioned it today already, about the number of local highways authorities. There are 155 or whatever it might be. I think we probably have to bite the bullet and collapse that down to a significantly smaller number that can be much more cohesive, where you can start to get real join up with strategic roads and local roads, and bring in this whole technology agenda. So I think we do need to bite the bullet and make that change.
Because presumably there's no point in moaning for another decade about lack of money. There's not going to be any more money.
No, and wouldn't it be the worst thing in the world to be coming to a conference here in the Park Plaza in 5 years' time and be having the same old debate again? And we just can't do that.
Finishing on a positive note, though, presumably there are some really, really bright, talented people now coming into this industry to try and solve these problems?
Well, there are, but I think that's in pockets. You know, what we need to do, I think, is really create an identity for our industry that allows people and really makes people want to join us. And because I think otherwise we'll be, you know, going back to recruiting people in the same old mould with the same old skills. And actually, whilst those people are very important to us, we need to really make sure that we're attracting those new people in. And we'll only do that if they see it as a really positive market and environment for them to work in.
Philip, thanks very much for your time today.
Okay, no worries.